Welcome back, Stasa23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and today I have the Grimsmo Norseman for y'all. This is considered a custom CNC made, and it is made by John and Eric Grimsmo. Both of them are out of Canada, and what they essentially done, they took a design, they came up with what they feel is the perfect design, and they made iterations over, along the way. This model has been around for maybe 7 years or longer. I'm not sure the exact amount, but it was a good long while before they came out with another model. So I like the fact that they took their time and made this as perfect as they could. They're definitely exceptional machinists with some super tight tolerances, and this knife is the brainchild of theirs. I don't know the exact price tag they are now. I know they're definitely pretty penny, but let's kind of get into it a little bit and talk about it. Let's get some specs out of the way so you can get an idea of how big this knife is. You have an overall length of 8.5 inches, a blade length of 3 5/8 inches, grip area of 4 1/4, a very slender handle at 0.39 inches thick. You have a width in the pocket at the widest portion at 1.45 inches, and you have a blade stock thickness of 0.124, so a little bit over 3 millimeters thick. And I measured the behind the edge thickness just along this portion right here, and it ranged from 24 to 26 thousandths behind the edge. So not the thinnest behind the edge, but definitely get the job done. Let's see, let's take a look at this blade shape. Now this is a love it or hate it. Some people think it looks crazy, and it's definitely different. That's what I kind of like about it. I've always kind of liked it. I never liked it enough to seek it out, but it's definitely unique, and it's got a lot of good uses out of this. You got this nice recurve right there, so whenever you're cutting into something, cutting in right here, when you're pulling it, you'll always get deeper and deeper into that belt, into the recurve. You also have, another point right here. So if you want to put your knife down on that point, do a drag cut like that, and then you have a secondary edge right here in that tanto. So it's a recurve tanto basically. From the factory, they put a mirror polish edge. I'm not sure how they're doing it. I don't know if they do it with a belt or a system or something like that, but I know they come nice and sharp. You have a hollow grind on this section and a flat grind. You can see they leave the milling marks there. See it? Hope you can see that. I'm trying something different with lighting. You can see the milling lines right here. You can actually feel them. And they do all that with their CNC mill. They've upgraded. They have a YouTube channel, and they've shown the process, every modification. That's another thing that I like. You don't have a lot of makers that show every detail that they do on these knives. And I'm pretty certain that they do everything in-house, that's awesome. I think I said you have a hollow, a flat for the strength up here in that tanto area. You have a nice, very, very nice crown spine up here on the top. You got some jimping that I'd say it's moderate. It doesn't really grip that hard. It's not super comfortable for my thumb, but that's that. They do have a sharpening choil right here. I think that was added later. I don't think it was always there. I think that was one of the iterations. This side of the blade is completely sterile, and on this side they have the number. This is the 3247th Norseman, and the blade steel designation, which is RWL34. That RWL34 is, it's good to go steel. I think it's an equivalent to CPM 154. Very, very corrosion resistance. and it has good edge holding capabilities. Again, this is not my knife. I will not be doing my normal testing with this. I do like how they etched or milled the blade steel designation and the number into the steel, so you don't have any black writing on there. So, you know, in certain lightings, it looks sterile on this side as well. It is nice and deep in there. You can actually feel it. And as you can see, you do have a single-sided thumb stud, which I'm pretty sure is titanium. And as you can see, you have a fastener right there, which is a Torx T9. While I'm talking about the Torx T9, show you their presentation. Comes in this nice crush-proof box with their name on there, Grimsmo knives, proudly made in Canada. It's got this nice now pack looking insert. I don't know if that's where this is from, but it looks kind of like that. And they got their name in there. It's very, very nice looking. It comes with a spot for some nano lube right here. And it comes with a driver, Torx driver, which is a T9, which fits on every one of their all their hardware. And one thing that I did notice, they make their hardware in-house. It's very, very nicely done, very, very tight. I wish more companies would do this, but there's no play whatsoever. Like, this thing is nice and tight, feels nice and deep right there, so you're not gonna slip. That pivot, very, very nice as well. As you can see, you have a decorative pivot screw, which is their logo. Very, very cool. They milled that in there. It's nice and deep in there. This is the honeycomb pattern. I think you can get it just flat titanium. And I think there may be like a chevron pattern. I'm not certain on that, but I think I remember seeing that. The claim to fame for this knife is it's ridiculous smoothness. So let's see, I don't want to guillotine myself, but whoop, see that? It drops so free that if you don't kind of like guide it down, sometimes it could bounce off the backspace, the stop pin in there. But definitely very, very smooth. And I'm sure that has to do with very tight tolerances. As you can see, look, you have hardly any gap right there. That's kind of like what you see on a Chris Reeve Sabenza. Very, very tight tolerances, which means that everything is squared up. You know, everything's going to be even on both sides, and in turn, you're going to get that amazing action. It does have a detent ball ramp on there. I'm pretty certain, because it feels like it. Maybe not. I haven't taken this thing apart yet, but if it doesn't, it glides. You don't feel the detent ball at all. Like, not one bit. You do not feel that detent ball jumping over the blade whatsoever. Your access to the lock bar is very, very nicely done. They have it softened right there, and it sits a little proud of the show side scale, so you can easily disengage that lock bar. Let's go to that flipper tab. As you can see, that flipper tab has been crowned over and smoothed everywhere, so there's no sharp points on the flipper tab. You do have some jimping right there that is pretty slick. It's one thing that I did notice whenever I'm flipping it. It does have a pretty stout detent, and my first flip, I must have had my finger on that lock bar, and I slipped off the flipper tab, and it wasn't too comfortable for my hands. But, you know, that's not saying a whole lot. This one has a purple anodizing, as you can see. And that thumb stud, you can also flick it out like that very easily. And I'm guessing that's why they didn't do a double thumb stud on here, because the detent is dialed in for flipping the knife. I don't think you would be able to spotty flick this knife if you did have a double-sided thumb stud. That's just my opinion, just the way it sucks in that blade. Let's see. Whoop. Let's see if I can get this. Very nice. You do have a lanyard hole right there for all you lanyard people. They did a really good job of softening all these edges, especially being that these are completely flat scales. There's no sharp edges where they don't need to be. You can't come in contact with that blade in the closed position. You do have two standoffs right here that are holding the knife together, besides the pivot and the stop pin. You have a very, very nicely done milled titanium pocket clip that's got good retention, goes in and out of the pocket nicely. Let's see what it looks like in the pocket. Now it is a little tough getting it in the pocket. Let's see, so it's not a deep carry, but good bit of the knife goes in there, as you can see. And I will say, I only pocketed it once. I didn't carry it outside of my house because it's an expensive knife and it's not mine. But when it was in the pocket, reaching my hand in here, this is really, really done nice. They softened this really well. They finished it really well, I'd say. And being that this flipper tab doesn't have any sharp spots, the way it sits in my pocket, it didn't hurt my hand going in and out. On this side, you don't have any milling work whatsoever. They left it just plain. You do have hidden hardware on the pocket clip, so it's done from the back side. Nicely done. And as you can see, they also put their logo, which I like. It's nice and subtle. Very, very cool. The centering on this thing is dead on centered. That's what you'd expect for this high end of a knife. And let's get some size comparisons, and I'll probably let y'all go. Now, the first one is pretty close. This is probably my closest in size to the Norseman, and that is the Spyderco Shaman. The Shaman is a little bit shorter. And then the large Sebenza 21. And it is a little shorter as well. Let's see. Got your SOCOM Elite, which the SOCOM is my only one I think that I have that's longer than this by a little bit. And the TRM Atom, which is a little bit shorter than the Norseman, as you can see. So there you go. If you want to get a weight on this knife, that's something I didn't check. That 3 5/8 inch blade, 4.96 ounces, so pretty close to 5 ounces. It's definitely one that you're gonna feel. I don't find that to be, outrageous. I think that's a good weight for the size of knife. Ergos in hand. Like I said, I didn't get to do my cutting and my test that helped me to decide on the ergos, but from just holding it in hand, it feels pretty good, especially for having the flat scales. To me, I think this knife is just begging for a nice forward choil right here, because you wouldn't have to add much, because you can hold on to this section right here and literally they could come to about right there, and then I could feel comfortable about grabbing it right there, putting my hand up there and doing some finer tasks. But that's not the end of the world. And I'm sure a lot of people who actually pay this much money for a knife, they're probably not using it that hard, if I had to take a guess. That's the main reason why I actually got in on the their list and got called for it, but I had to make the decision not to pull the trigger, just because it's a lot of money. And for me now, if I buy a knife, it's got to be one that I'm okay with using, because if I'm not going to use it, I just don't really have need in my collection. Some of the nitpicks that I found in the knife, just that might not be an issue for anybody else, but just stuff that I kind of noticed. First is I'd rather have a double thumb stud and the option to dial the detent back a little bit, just because as it sits, it wouldn't be a comfortable knife for me. It's just the detent's just a little too stout for my liking. I know most people would love this. And that way I could use, you know, a double thumb stud if I wanted to. I could flick it if I wanted to. That's just easier for me to deploy a knife. Also, you know, everything's so tight on this knife that lock bar cutout just seems extremely wide. It's so wide that you can, you see the cutout in the blade right there? Let's see. You can see that. The cutout, the track for the stop pin. It's just a ginormous cutout. And that track is pretty darn wide. I would wonder if you put any decent lateral force on here. I bet you if the blade, anything snapped, it'd probably snap in that track, but I could be wrong. And this is something that's probably silly to most people, but to me, the action's a little too smooth. I don't want to guillotine myself. You do get used to it, and it is addictive, but I like more of a controlled drop. This one's wrenched down right now. You can make it even smoother than this, and it hasn't been cleaned in a little while, so I can imagine it gets even smoother. I don't know. That's just my preference. And lastly, or two more things. The jimping to me is uncomfortable, and it doesn't serve much of a purpose. You know, if you don't have really purposeful jimping, I would rather not even have it there or make it really, really fine to where you don't really feel it. My finger just slides up on there. It doesn't feel like it would bear down. If I bear down, it would catch my thumb. And the RWL34, for the price tag of this knife, it's either $700 or $900. That's a whole lot of money. I would like to see just a little bit of an upgrade. Now, I know they probably have a custom heat treat on that, and it's probably very good, or, you know, as good as you'd see RWL34. But for me, spending that kind of money, I think I would rather have some better blade steel. But I don't know. If I like the knife enough, that wouldn't really be a deal breaker. So there you go. That's the Grimsmo Norseman. Just thought I would show y'all, give y'all a look at it. It's not one that I'll probably ever purchase. I like it. I like the Rask, their other model, but it's just not really for me, I don't think, at this moment. Oh, I do like how they put the over travel behind there. That's pretty cool. You can see the little disc right there. They put it behind the lock bar, which, you know, most other knives that have them right here. So that's a cool little thing. Kind of keeps it cleaner. But overall, let me know what y'all think. If you own it, let me know what you think about it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. Hope everybody's having an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.